You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or give the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safe FM.
And from the border of liberty and prosperity in the Highlandton North, this is Safety Wars for Monday, June 12, 2023. Sorry we're a little bit late. We had a situation come up right before air. We had to resolve. How's everybody doing? I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I know I enjoyed mine. It was challenging. Oh yeah, you wouldn't believe how challenging it was. But my son's spring baseball came to a conclusion on Sunday night. Congratulations to DB White for New York. TBT White, New York. That's his travel team. My daughter still has 2 more softball games, so that's what's going on. Very proud of him. He greatly improved. We were looking at his averages from last year to this year, and did like 4 or 5 times better this year batting than he did last year. Seriously. Incredible. A lot of work. Takes after his mom. My daughter takes after me. She has my sense of humor and my gift of gab. So, what's going on tonight? So, last Saturday night, I wanted to give a big shout out to Ian Punnett from Coast to Coast AM and their entire staff there. They invited me on for the first segment on Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on your point of view. It was 1 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. On Sunday morning. If you're on the West Coast, it was 10 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. We had a very lively discussion on a lot of stuff, but the big thing is, there is a missing trainload of ammonium perchlorate. You say, wow, you're kidding me. Yeah, hey, here we go. So, huge story here where, I don't know, this hit the news, I think we mentioned one time before, but people are starting to get a little bit concerned here because there's an investigation without any type of results or anything that are coming out here. And it's going to be ongoing. Whenever there's a chemical type spill and everything else, it is. So sometime in the beginning of April, a train left a explosives, or ammonium perchlorate plant in Wyoming, I think it was. Hold on. I lost story here. Let me get the details. Oh, I'll turn that off. Missing ammonium perchlorate. So here we have 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate fertilizer. Did I say perchlorate? Ammonium nitrate fertilizer went missing. So it, here you go. Very, very aggravating here because this is what it comes down to. Yes, here it is. Okay. So this is out of Cheyenne, Wyoming on May 24th. It sounds like the beginning of a plot to a mystery movie. This is from WyomingNewsNow.tv. About 30 tons of ammonium nitrate fertilizer is still missing after disappearing during a rail trip from Cheyenne to California. On April 12th, a rail car carrying the chemical used both as a fertilizer and an explosive left on a 2-week trek to Saltdale, California. Once it arrived, the rail car was empty. So right now, the manufacturer reportedly is Dyno Nobel, according to news reports, and that's where it left. Now, what they're saying is this. It was a granular type shipment, meaning it was in a granular size, right? It was granular, it was like granular, like a sand. And what ended up happening was when it got to wherever it was supposed to go, it was gone. People are concerned because ammonium nitrate has been involved in a lot of incidents over the year. The most recent one in recent memory was Lebanon, where they had a ship that was filled with this stuff that went off in, I believe it was 2020, blew like 200 people injured, number of people killed. And then if you study hazmat or fire science, then you had the Grand Camp in 1947 that went off. That was believed to be the largest man-made explosion as far as conventional explosion in history, calculated at somewhere between 2.7 to 3 kilotons. Just for a point of reference, the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombs were calculated at being 21 kilotons and 17 kilotons, I believe. I think those, don't quote me on those numbers, double check them. But that gives you, right, an idea, 1/7 the size. And it changed the way that we understand fire science in this country. So what I've been told from what I've read and from everything else, before 1947, you had what was known as the fire triangle. So what do you need for a fire? Safety people, you should know this. You need a fuel, you need an oxidizer, and you need energy. Now, traditionally, they say you need fuel, you need air, and you need an ignition source, a flame or spark. But in reality, you need energy in some form because you may have some things that are shock sensitive where there's enough of an oxidizer in the chemical formula, there's enough fuel in the chemical formula, and you have it together, and now you have two parts of the fire triangle, and you all you need is some type of energy to be imparted on this, and then you have an explosion, you have a fire, you have something like that. So what ended up happening was, for unknown reasons, ammonium nitrate fertilizer was in the ship, the old Liberty ship, the Grand Camp, destined for France under the Marshall Plan, right, where they were trying to get Europe back up to speed and back building up after World War II. And there was another ship adjacent to it. I forget the name of it also. And what ended up happening was the right, this is in Texas City, 1947. Let's get the name of the other ship here. SS Wilson B. Keene. All right. And what happened was, so the fire was started with an oxidizer. You got to be very careful, especially in granular form. Anything like ammonium perchlorate, ammonium nitrate, and this one is it oxidizes with everything. And what it oxidizes with, metals, usually it could be dirt, it could be anything, could be more hazardous than the original material because now you have fuel. So yes, all metals react, and most metals, I would say, burn if it's ground into fine enough particles. This is why you have aluminum tools and aluminum grinding and aluminum welding. Those tools are separate from steel, right? For example, right? With that, because you can ignite the aluminum. If you want to go and go on YouTube, probably TikTok has them too, is videos on thermite, right? Which is a combination of rust, no iron oxide, and aluminum combined. Then you have thermite. But anyway, I don't want to give anybody ideas. And then thermite's used for many different things. It burns so hot it'll go through an engine block in like a second. But anyway, fire starts, and the fire department, as I've read, said, "Hey, we're going to smother the flames. We're going to relieve oxygen." So they closed the hatchways and everything else. But they did not know that about the fire tetrahedron, where you have a fourth leg on that fire triangle, making it a tetrahedron, where you have free radicals, you have more reactive things going on, and this thing ended up being self-sustaining because it had oxygen in there. It also had the other chemical reactions going on, exothermic, which it's a self-contained fire. It's self-feeding, right? What ended up happening was this ammonium perchlorate ammonium nitrate. I keep saying perchlorate, but it's ammonium nitrate had gotten to a critical point with this all contained, and it went from a conflagration to a detonation, and 3 kiloton detonation. So the ship, being 437 feet long, now blew up. All right. And this is all on film. This is one of the first major disasters on film. And, apparently was very colorful. Unfortunately, it was in black and white. And what ended up happening was it detonated. And how many people? 405. It was 468 people had been died, 63 never identified. And tidal wave in the harbor, huge thing. Tsunami, another ship, like I said, was involved. Big thing, 5,000 people injured. 1,784 admitted into hospitals, and 500 homes were destroyed. Big thing. Check it out on YouTube or your favorite platform. Eugene Meyer, in his first edition of hazardous materials chemistry, the chemistry of hazardous materials, goes into this really good. If you could get a hold of that book. And there have been several other publications. Second one, in recent memory, another one, right? Other than Lebanon, so we talked about Lebanon in 2020, then Grand Camp, and then in 1995, the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, you had Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols destroy the federal building, right? And what was that? Diesel fuel and ammonium nitrate fertilizer. There was a report that a couple years ago, a couple of shipments of diesel or fuel oil went missing. I don't mean like a 55-gallon drum, much more. So putting these two facts together, right? They never solved one. Now we have this one. A couple of questions come to mind. One, how often do we lose hazardous materials? I spent the better part of last night Googling this and looking on all the usual websites that are not conspiracy theory related. Very few. This is not very often. Doesn't happen very often. At least it's not reported very often. Then what happens is now you have missing fuel oil. How often does it? I don't know. But diesel fuel is ubiquitous. No one's going to raise any questions if now you put them together. Now you have an issue. You have an oxidizer. You have an oxidizer that, under the right conditions, can become self-decomposing and cause its own fire under the right circumstances. And now you have fuel oil, right? Now you have fuel, you have an oxidizer, all you need is something else. So what's the issue here? People are concerned, understandably. What they're saying now is that it leaked out. There was a seal in there. And fortunately, ammonium perchlorate, used as a fertilizer, leaked out somewhere, and I don't know. This goes to the question where how dangerous are the ground alongside railroad tracks and railroad tracks themselves along the railways. If we have things leaking out, how often does it happen? What amount and everything else? I don't know. These are good questions there. Maybe one of our listeners has a better idea on this, better handle than I do with that. Usually that is the case. And again, what I had mentioned was now Ian Pundit has a new podcast, right? Let me get the name of it right now. And boom. He now has a podcast. It is I'll have it in the comments here and everything, where he essentially hold on. He's on the Paranormal Cop Podcast Network, and it's a half fiction, half real, right? Nonfiction, and it's fiction that is inspired by nonfiction events, and it's about a man. So far as 2 episodes, it's supposed to be an 8 or 9 part series on what I should have it up. I'm basically someone who's falsely accused of a crime and the way the investigation is. And I pointed out, if they're going to get to the bottom of this investigation, they're going to not be antagonistic. Right? That's the big thing, is don't be antagonistic. Don't go and yell, scream, intimidate, or anything else, because you're not going to get the facts right. And you're not going to be able to get closer to the truth as to what's happening. with whatever based on that. I know I'm rambling and I am looking for that. I'm a little bit annoyed with myself because sometimes this show goes into areas that I had not intended. Okay, here it is. Coast to Coast AM, Paranormal Podcast Network, Vaudeville for the Frightened. Ian Punnett hosts it, and it's like a performance theater, old-fashioned storytelling, like in the 1930s and 40s, but before TV. Story. But anyway, let me just finish the thought here, and I'll move on because I know I lost half of you now with my ramblings. How you conduct how you conduct an investigation. If it's antagonistic, if you're an antagonist against this, rather than get to the truth, solve the problem, move on, type of guy like me, you're not going to get closer to the truth. You're not going to be able to move on. Same things are going to happen again and again. And if you act like a jerk, things aren't going to be reported after a while. So that's why it's really important that you don't be antagonistic. Don't come in with your biases or anything like that. So right now, I can imagine, right, we lost a shipment of material, right, out of here. We lost a shipment. Well, what's going to happen if people go in there and they start, the feds are there. How do you think that's going to go? Everyone's going to keep their mouth shut and assert their Miranda rights, as they probably should. And you'll never get to the bottom of this, how to prevent it again, where it went, or anything else. So that's something you need to keep in mind. We're going to take a brief time out here, and we're going to go and figure out what's going on, what the hell I'm doing next.
In a world where danger lurks in every corner, one man stands as a beacon of hope. Jim Polzel, a veteran safety expert with over 3 decades of experience, now bringing his knowledge to you with Safety Wars. Engaging, informative, and always relevant, that's Safety Wars. Join a safety revolution with Safety Wars, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos.
Okay, so thank you, honey. And so we have right here story, and I had this on NPR over the weekend, National Public Radio. I know people are going to be screaming, you're listening to National Public Radio. I got a comment today from a dear friend of mine saying, you got to be careful what you say, and you got to be careful, blah, blah, blah. And you, because you got to be. Don't fall into those traps, right? Well, I'm just going to wing it as usual. And, maybe I'll take her input to heart a little bit. I got to be careful. I got to be careful with the language, I guess. New York City subways have alarmingly high pollution levels, study finds. So this was published in the New York Post and publicized last week. Scientists have found alarmingly high concentrations of potentially toxic particles in the air in New York City subway stations. New York University researchers surveyed 271 platforms in December 2021 and found levels of airborne iron particles, probably from the rail lines itself, right? That's what first place I would look is the rails, were staggering 126 times more than the outdoor average, according to a paper published last month in the Atmospheric Pollution Research Journal. One study shows iron, which makes up the bulk of the air pollution on the subway, can be neurotoxic if inhaled and is linked to autism, schizophrenia, and ADHD. Another study showed a correlation between iron inhalation and cardiovascular disease, cancer, respiratory illness. Although more research is needed into the health impacts, the NYU scientists noted. And the worst station surveyed was at 181st Street on the 1 line with an average concentration of airborne particles 17 times higher than the daily average level of metal ions the EPA considers safe. And it goes on with all the other things. So what kind of monitoring device did they use? They used a real-time monitoring device for particulates, and apparently they did some type of real-time air monitoring with this. Um, I don't know. I don't know what to say on this other than obviously indoor air pollution is a major problem. All of the studies and everything that I've heard of and I've read in my experience, hey, indoor air pollution, you have a lot of stuff going on inside a subway. What does this mean? There used to be a parody commercial on one of my favorite radio talk shows. And it's not on the air anymore. And it was Paranoid Magazine. They had this parody commercial. No, a million things you should be terrified of. No, Paranoid was the name of, and that they were the joke advertisement. And what are we going to do? Are we going to shut down the subways now? Is that what we're going to end up doing? I don't know. Here, now what do we do? Do we just shut down everything? We had the air quality index last week. We did a deep dive into that. Here now, and I'm hearing this from everybody. My daughter asked me what was the air quality index this weekend. Are we all going to get paranoid now over this? How the OSHA and the EPA here have huge sections on that. Be prepared. How prepared are we going to be? If you're working outside, you're in an area now. It's moderate hazard of on the air quality index or over 100, where you have some type of real issue going on. Possibly, are we now going to say, well, we're going to suspend work done outside? How's that going to impact construction? So it was a good thing that we could talk about this stuff last week, but where exactly are we going with it? I don't know. I can't tell you. It's a dangerous place we're going because what are you going to do? No one's going to work now outside. That's what the argument's going to be. And you know what? It may be justified. What are you going to do as an employer to improve the ambient air quality conditions in your work area for outdoor conditions? Or are you going to say, well, that's part of the job, that's the risk? I don't think that's going to work, especially if you have someone with health problems. Now you assign them to outside work. What are you going to do? Again, you're not the source of the air pollution. You're not the source as the employer. What about you're still, that doesn't mean that you are okay with that. I don't know. I think the courts would probably not enforce it. I don't think OSHA would enforce it, but it's something to say, now what are we going to do about it? How are we going to plan? And by the way, OSHA says you should have a plan. Okay. Where are we? Okay. Some OSHA news right now. Wisconsin food manufacturers' history of violations continues. Federal investigators find safety failures led to 2 workers' amputation injuries. The operator of a north central Wisconsin meat and sausage manufacturing plant might have spared 2 employees from suffering serious hand injuries by following required machine safety standards. A U.S. Department of Labor investigation found. Inspectors with the Department's Occupational Safety and Health Administration investigating how a turning auger on a meat processing machine at a company amputated the top of a 37-year-old's finger in December 2022, received a report about a second worker's injury at the plant a month later, and there was an inspection. So these 2 inspections led to citations for a repeat violation and 17 serious violations, with a total of $277,472 in proposed penalties. And right now, Right now, they have a court order in place, and I'm going to download that because the last time we had a court order on this website, they took it down because I think they put up an error. So if you want to see what a court order looks like with this, and this is it. Hold on. They made a mistake on the website. They put up the wrong document. So this is, they were supposed to put up the OSHA citation report, and instead they put up a lawsuit here with this, and I'm not going to go into this. It's with go over and take a look at it on OSHA.gov, OSHA Regional News, Region 5, and there. Wow, incredible. Okay. And there's a whole bunch of releases on zero accidents, zero injuries reported for several areas, and one in Utah, one in Colorado. Here we have Department of Labor cites entertainment company Orlando fireworks warehouse blaze explosion in which 4 workers perished. Florida-based entertainment company could have prevented a deadly fire and explosion at an Orlando warehouse in December 2022, in which 4 employees perished and a 5th was left hospitalized for months with near-fatal injuries. Investigators from the U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration determined as a team of workers employed by a certain company readied fireworks for a local show. An ignition sparked a fire and explosions in a storage facility. 5 employees who ranged from 22 to 27 years old found themselves trapped. Following its investigation, OSHA found the company failed to protect its employees by establishing safety protocols and issued citations for 10 serious violations, totaling almost $110,000. What were they doing? They did not ensure the proper storage of explosive materials, comply with OSHA's process safety management standard that for preventing or minimizing the unplanned ignition of explosive materials by performing a hazard analysis and developing and implementing written process safety control procedures and an EAP, that's Emergency Action Plan. Ensure electrical equipment in the area was classified. They don't mention this in the article, but it's Class 1 Division 2 or Class 1 Division 1 rated. In other words, intrinsically safe. And So going on and on and on. That's basically it. Not the way you want to go. I'll say that much, and I'm not being a wise guy here. So how much more do we have here? So it's a shorter program tonight. I got on a little bit late. I appreciate all the support and everything. I want to thank Ian Punnett again for having me on Saturday night. And again, we'll keep an eye on where did this go. I'm sure there'll be a finalized report on this. Some other stuff, the East Palestine railway disaster, that's going on into the ongoing recovery phase, and they're going to be doing some site characterization on that. Also, the fires in Canada are going to be going on for the foreseeable future until they get a substantial amount of rain up there in Canada. So that I haven't seen any reports of anybody getting hurt or homes getting destroyed, anything like that. But real quick, let's look at the Canadian fires. And Canadian wildfire tracker on the New York Times. So parts of where are we looking at? The internet is never fast enough. Dealing with a 1G connection here, dedicated line. So right now, I'm looking at half the country now, and I'm seeing a lot of yellow and green, not a lot of red in the United States. However, up in Canada, in the Alberta area, we're seeing a lot of red and dark red and maroon over there, which would indicate that there's still wildfires up there or something else going on, and it's not good here. So what do we got? It's not showing you what the levels are. So this is going to be an ongoing issue for the time being. I will see everybody here tomorrow. Hopefully nothing will happen before the program. So see ya.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
Safety FM.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.